in full transparency, how to financially plan for your move abroad. So I have a special guest with me today. I have Kenya.
Hey.
And let me just tell you really quickly, okay? So I've been working with Kenya for now almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Almost 3 months as her expat coach to help her prepare to move abroad. And during that preparation, she has helped me with my finances. So it's been like a nice kind of way to work together and also learn more about one another. So when I really started hearing people say that one of their biggest fears or things that they couldn't do was to try to figure out A, how to make money, and B, how to save to move abroad. So I asked Kenya, who just recently, I'm talking about wet behind the ears, just moved to Mexico less than 2 weeks ago.
Less than 2 weeks, yes.
So it only made sense that I had somebody come on that is fresh, not somebody like myself who has been abroad for 2-3 years and the economy has changed. We're now in a recession, and she did this during the COVID recession. Yes, literally during the pandemic, she moved, and she's been in Playa, Tulum ever since. So welcome, Kenya. Can you give our audience a little bit more about your financial background?
Yes. So hi, everyone. In terms of my financial background, I am a regular person with regular bills. With student loan debt, I had credit card debt as well. I have a master's degree in education, and I on this journey of I want to move abroad, I was like, well, I need to pay off all my credit card debt. And so in that journey, I learned a whole bunch of stuff. It took me months of implementation, fail and error. We'll try and succeed. Try and succeed. Mm-hmm. It took me months to learn all these personal finance concepts that really go over your head that we don't learn in school. And then I was just sharing my story on Instagram, and people started to really enjoy my transparency around money. I've always been a transparent person. And from there, I was like, oh my God, like I could be a financial coach. I've always had a coach mentality. I'm an educator, a facilitator, a mentor. And so I've been certified as a financial coach since like February. And honestly, it's been amazing working one-on-one with clients. And I also work in group coaching with clients with their finances. So now I am credit card debt free. I paid off $23,000 to the credit card companies this year alone in 8 months. I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud that I did it and that I'm on the other side. I have about $40,000 in student loan debt, but my payment right now, well, not now, but if it weren't in COVID, my payment would be $13 a month. And so I often help people figure out, well, how can they get that stress, that student loan monster off their shoulders? Mm-hmm. And I have no assets right now because I sold them to move abroad, and we can talk all about assets. I haven't looked at my credit score just yet because I put a whole bunch of payments down, but we'll talk more about credit scores as well.
Yes, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I was trying to use my phone to admit people so we didn't have to do it that way. But anywho, yeah, so Kenya, I mean, think about it. How many of you guys really feel like you're stuck with credit card debt and or student loan debt? That seems to be the biggest one for a lot of people. They're just like, well, how am I going to pay off my student loans if I live abroad and all of those things, and we allow our finances to kind of keep us down. So let's talk a little bit about when you got to the point of starting to save. Was it 3 months before you really thought about moving abroad? 6 months? Like some people feel like you got to do this for years.
Oh no. So actually that's a really, really good question. So my goal date to move abroad was August 2021. As we see, that happened a whole year earlier. And so because I had this big, gigantic number in my mind that I needed to save to survive, and it wasn't until I talked to other travelers, people who have, made the move abroad, that I realized the number I was going for was like, that's one, is astronomical. It's not really needed. Like of course you can save a whole bunch of money and be good for years, but wasn't what I was hoping for, because I did feel stuck. I felt stuck with my credit card debt. I felt stuck in my job. And so I was like, I'm going to save as much as I need to survive at least for a year, and then focus on, okay, making my money while I'm abroad. And so funny enough, I didn't really start saving until about 2 months before leaving. but that's not typical. And the reason that it was is because all those 6 months, because this all started in January of this year, the 6 months before that, I was putting hella money towards my credit card debt. And then I decided to kind of like ease the brakes on paying off the debt to saving a whole bunch of money, because I thought, because I said to myself, you know what? Yeah, I could pay off all this credit card debt and have zero saved, but then that would elongate my departure date. So instead, I'm going to put a whole bunch of money towards the debt. Then I'm going to pause, save a whole bunch of money. And then by the time I'm ready to leave, not only do I have money saved, I'm still getting some residual income from my job, and that is going towards the debt. So actually, I get paid tomorrow. I still got 2 more paychecks coming for my job. And I sold my car. I sold my car. It was the one asset I had, thankfully.
Sorry.
One asset I had, and a lot of the, unfortunately, I acquired a lot of debt in my move as well. A lot of people don't talk about the cost it takes to move abroad, like all the things that you need to buy.
Which we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into. But yes, I started saving about 2 months prior, because prior to that, I was going crazy with my credit card debt.
Okay. So for somebody starting off, fresh off the boat, who really wants to get prepared to start moving towards financial freedom in order to potentially move abroad, what would you recommend? Because for me, I would say a good 6 months is a good amount of time to really, but you have to be dedicated. You can't just be 6 months and willy-nilly in and being like, I'll catch up next month or whatever. Like, it's dedication.
Right.
And I think a lot of us lack that kind of consistency and dedication to put the money forward in order to, because we feel like if we use the money to pay off the debt, we won't have the money to move.
And that's not true at all. So actually, my first recommendation would be get rid of as much high interest credit card debt that you can, because the less debt you're in, the less payments you're giving to the credit card companies, the more money that you're saving in your bank account. And so that's the first thing I would, strive to do. And then you could juggle both. I'm paying off credit card debt and I'm saving, but I'd rather you get to a safe point for you of like, well, this is how much debt I have, whether that's zero or like only $5,000 left. I have clients that do leave with debt, and then start saving, figuring out your savings number and then saving for that. But I think 6 months is an absolutely amazing time to just, get first the month, gain that clarity, create that plan. And then the next month, literally have the discipline, strive hard, go hard in the paint, and don't look back. So the thing is, I was really tied to, I have been doing the most my whole life. I'm tired and I want to rest and rejuvenate. I want to take a sabbatical, essentially. And so that really was my motivation of when I was sending thousands of dollars to these credit card companies. Like, that hurt, but I knew it was for a bigger purpose. And then it was even better when I was saving thousands of dollars that used to be going to credit card companies. And I'm saying, well, this is going to sustain me for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year.
Now, what I realize is, and you guys can put it in the chat if you find this being true for you, is that a lot of people say, well, I don't really have enough to save. But I would say the reality of the situation is, if you look at your lifestyle, right? Like you said, you were doing the most. If you look at your lifestyle, I used to love to go to happy hour. I ate out a lot. Like, if I would have just cut back on I lived in the DMV area. So going out to happy hour and having a cocktail, I was spending $30, $40.
Right.
You get what I mean? So that $30 or $40 could have went to saving, but instead I was eating it up. So my thing is, it takes for you to look at how you're spending in order to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna have to cut out this for a little while. Netflix is what, $14.99 now or something like that. I'm sure you got a family member or friend that got Netflix, and you can be like, yo, can I get the username and password? That's $14.99 you can save.
Or the people that you're sharing your Netflix with, you got to have them start paying up. I'm serious. I say it to my clients all the time. But it isn't just, okay, I'm going cold turkey on brunches. I'm not buying any clothes. Like, that's really extreme. And so a lot of times I'm like, okay, you like going to brunch every weekend? Let's cut it down to 2 weekends. And the money that you save, which could be about $200.
Yeah, because
that's going towards your savings. I decided to stop buying clothes this year. While I was saving, because I was like, I need to wear the clothes that are already in my closet, And so I talk a lot about no spend days. And so I started implementing those and just tracking it on my calendar. I said, I want to do 10 no spend days, meaning
a month.
Yeah. So my goal this year is 120, so 10 a month. But the point of it was I wanted to see, how does it feel for me to decide I'm not going to spend any money, and how much am I saving? Like literally just doing 10 no spend days a month, my spending was cut in half, but I still felt joyful, fulfilled. I was buying people gifts, and I didn't feel like I was sacrificing a lot, or I felt like, I'm living my worst life trying to get to my best life,
Yeah.
We have some questions.
Somebody asked if this would be applicable for somebody with children or families.
Yes. So I do not have children. I don't take care of any family members at the moment. I do have a cat, but that doesn't apply. And so I would say that you're probably going to need a little bit more time, because your savings number, like what number
It's
makes
for
you
more
feel
than
safe?
one person.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's for more than one person. One client in particular that I'm working with, she has a young daughter. So a part of her savings when we're thinking about her expenses moving abroad is schooling. She wants to come to Mexico as well, schooling for her daughter. And so it's going to take her a bit longer, but to be real, her savings goal is very much similar to my savings goal, because I just, wanted to be as safe as possible. So I would think about, you have to start doing research if you have children. What are the schooling costs abroad, and whatever you spend on like at food, for groceries and clothes, and even like electronics and games and stuff, continue to keep that in your moving abroad budget, because it's either, especially in Mexico,
more entertainment with kids as well, keeping them busy.
It's a lot. That budget is either going to be very much the same abroad, or it's going to be dwindled.
Yeah. So what I would say is I have children. However, I did not move abroad with my kids because they were young adults at the time that I left. But as a single mother, I would say that you really have to look at the kind of dynamic you have with your family. I mean, I know for me, my son was, as long as he had something like football and video games, he was good. So packing up his stuff, like he's not that one that needed to do the most. Right. My daughter, however, needed to get out, do stuff. So I know that she would have spent more money trying to get out and do things, where my son would probably just be in the house.
Exactly.
And when it comes down for schooling abroad, a lot of people do virtual right now. So you don't really have that much expenses unless you're putting them into an international school, which can cost you a pretty penny. So just be mindful that if you're trying to put them in a private international school, this is where diplomats go, and, like higher, I would say, I won't say bougie, but I'll say higher level, a
lot of politicians and business people send their kids there.
And it's costly. Mm-hmm. It's costly, or Montessori school is costly, those kind of things.
What I suggest the same timeline if you're currently furloughed from your job. So you're saving your money for a rainy day in case the job scene gets worse. Yes. So it's all about priorities for one. So if you're furloughed right now, your main priority is survival where you are. If you have any extra money for that to save to move abroad and live better for less, start saving that money. And then when you're ready, you have that savings amount, go ahead and go. But also while you're furloughed, because during COVID, I also started my business, saved this money, got out of credit card debt, and then quit my job. And so during this time, I hate to be that person of like, what are you doing during COVID? But take that time that you have to start developing, how are you going to earn money abroad? What's going to be your expenses abroad? Do a lot of research. It was never a pick up and move type thing. It was always, I'm doing research continually on what are the living expenses, where do I want to go, and how does this place, really help me financially, mentally.
Because we discussed all that during our coaching lessons. I know you wanted to go to Thailand initially, which actually would have worked out 10 times better than Mexico for your pockets. Yep. But because of the pandemic, Thailand is like, absolutely not. Y'all ain't coming up in here. So really just look at the cost of living to the places that you really want to go. I hear a lot of people like, oh, well, I would like to go to Paris or London. Hello, you're literally moving from the US to go to another place that's either just as expensive, if not more than the US. That to me is counterproductive in a lot of ways. But that's, you know, if that's the life you want to live, then you have to strive to live that life. That's how I gotta say it.
Exactly. And every decision that you make for your life, for this new life that you have, that's going to determine what your finances are going to be like. So you make a good point about what location you choose. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to Southeast Asia or Latin America. If you want to go to Europe, that's great. Now you need to plan for Europe, so you're not surprised when you get there and you're like, I'm going broke, you know? So I always believe that, you know, we can accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, and money can be a tool for that, as opposed to money is going to be a barrier. You just have to be patient with yourself and say, okay, it's going to take me a little bit longer than 8 months or 6 months, or sometimes even a year to get where I need to go. And that's okay, because that's your path. People's paths are different. One of my clients just moved to the Netherlands. However, she got a teaching contract that she's going to be in for a year. So she's getting paid. She's continuing to pay off her debt. And then she's ready and she's saving money. Then she's going to go abroad and do her thing after her contract is over. And it took me 8 months. I didn't think it was going to take that long. Other people, it's taking them a little bit longer. So your path is your path.
Yeah. And I just dropped a link called numbio.com. It's actually a great website that's been around for years that actually gives you cost of living expenses in many countries. So it will tell you how much it costs for things like milk, eggs, I mean, gas, insurance, anything that you're looking for in that city or country. Numbio is a great resource. So this way you can see where your savings are. So if we gave a comparison, now you've been in Mexico only 2 weeks, but you technically been in 2 places so far, whatever, and you're about to kind of go into your own place. So you're getting a studio. I live in a 2-bedroom technically. So the studio is costing you what?
$650 a month. And
$650 a month.
My 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in Florida cost me $850 a month.
Okay. But you also had utility expenses in Florida.
Right. I had utilities to pay in Florida,
which you do not have here.
Exactly.
So you see what I mean about the cost difference. And on top of that, we live in Tulum, which is not necessarily an inexpensive part of Mexico.
Right.
Had we lived in a place like Merida, her studio may only be $400 a month. If we lived in Mexico City, it may be $500 a month. So it all depends on where you are. So just to give a comparison, I live in a 2-bedroom luxury condo, and it's $1,000 a month. That's the most I've ever paid actually to live abroad. I have to say, and I've been gone for 3 years and never paid $1,000 a day in my life. And I'm able to now because I'm in a different place than I was 3 years ago. And also it's all of the things that I need and want. And the building has like free laundry. I don't have to pay for laundry. I don't have to pay for, water. I don't have to pay for cable and internet. Like it comes with the apartment. So, and it's fully furnished. I don't have to pay for any furnishings. I don't have to pay for all of those things. So when I cut all of those expenses out, $1,000 is nothing. Where in the States, I would never have a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere for $4,000 with no utilities.
Not with utilities included. So before I had left the States, I was living off $1,000 a month pretty happily. But the catch is, I got a roommate. So when I started to get clear about what my expenses and where my money was going, housing was like 50% of my take-home pay. And I said, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to cut that in half. So I got a roommate who happened to be a coworker of mine. It was a great match. And all that extra money that I had went towards debt or it went towards savings. And so now I was living with $1,000 a month in America. My goal now in Mexico is also to live at least $1,000 and below or less. Exactly. But again, like you said, I live in Tulum, which is not the most inexpensive place. I'm like, I need to move to Merida. But yeah.
Yeah. So as she said, you ended up getting a roommate. Not everybody wants to go that route, but let's talk about assets, right? So some people I know have homes and they always say, well, I have a home to take care of. I got a mortgage, whoop-de-whoop, whatever, right? We can give every reason why we can't do something. But because you have a home, that's actually a great way to make money. So you can rent out your home to Airbnb, right? That's one option.
Yes.
However, with that, I would say make sure you have somebody that you can trust to manage it while you're gone.
Yeah.
Two, you can rent it to a relative or a really good friend so that you know that your home is being taken care of. And make sure you charge them exactly what you would charge them in order to pay for your mortgage, and then have some residuals afterwards, I would say.
Because it's I understand like wanting to give a loved one discount, but it's still, a mortgage is still a bill that has to be paid. And if you want to, you know, live abroad and not have to worry about that asset being essentially a pain in your back, then you need to make sure that your mortgage is covered. And if you want to get some income from real estate, make sure you're doing a little bit above that too, so that you're bringing some US dollars to wherever you are. Because at the end of the day, it's tied to, you know, your goals. So if you have this asset, this big house, you know, then that needs to help you towards your goals, which is to live abroad, to live better for less, etc.
Yeah. How many of you guys in the group right now have actual assets, have a home that you're paying mortgage on, or have a vehicle that you're paying, you know, down, and insurance and all of those things? Because what I realize is, you made a good point. In America, about 50 to 60% of our income goes to housing. And no lie, about 10 to 15 goes to things like car insurance and gas.
Yeah. You have 2 cars.
Somebody has 2 cars. Okay. That must be a pretty penny.
2 cars and a lease.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lease. Yeah. So with your 2 cars, if you're still paying on them, and depending on when you want to leave, so if by the time you leave they're paid off, obviously sell your car to CarMax is who I'd recommend. Take that money. That's a bit of a nest egg. If you, by the time you're ready to leave and you're still paying on the car, I think a lot of times if you were to sell to CarMax, you're going to have to make up that difference a little bit. So your savings is going to have to cover whatever that difference is. And then the lease, my lease ended July 31st. I was out on a plane to Mexico August 1st. So it's just a matter of making do with what you can where you are right now to get to where you want to go. But cars are so costly, like between paying the car note, paying the insurance, paying for gas, paying for maintenance. And then when you move abroad, it's like literally a weight has been lifted off of your shoulders. Again, I will say, full transparency, I owned my car. I was not paying on my car. And it was hard for me to sell my car. None of this is going to be easy, to put your house up for rent or to sell your home if you're done with it, to sell your car. It was very hard for me to do that because I had memories with the car. But funny thing is, I was sitting here real sad in CarMax, and she was like, you want to sign these papers? A beautiful Black woman. And I said, I'm not ready. And she said, well, once you sign the papers, I can cut your check. And I said, well, that's all I needed to know. And that was it. You know, you have to do what you need to do to get where you want to go.
Yeah. I sold my car to CarMax the week that I left. And at that point, I was like, I don't care what they pay me because I'm out of here. So It didn't matter at that point. I was like, give me what you got. I mean, in my head. But I literally sold it down to the last week that I was there. And 9 times out of 10, when you live abroad, you don't necessarily need a vehicle depending on where you are.
Right.
I'll say that. Like, I don't think that I would want necessarily a vehicle right now in Tulum. Some people I do know that own cars in Mexico. But I'm okay. I'm okay with not having it. I decided to live in an area that's a little bit more walkable to the things that I want. I have a bicycle, which is now giving me the exercise. Like even this morning, I said to Kenya, I was like, I had the best workout. I just went out and got lost in the neighborhood on my bike, came back, went swimming. And then I felt like I had a great workout and I was ready to start my day. So doing more things like walking and using bicycles and things like that would save you a ton of money. And I bought my bike for $88 US.
Right. Exactly. Renting out your home is good money, but it has to when things have to be repaired when you're not there. So I also recommend property management companies. So if you don't have anyone around your home that you trust to take care of these things, like My apartment in Florida, the property manager was the landlord's brother-in-law. So he lived right down the road. I could call him up. But if you don't have that property management companies that you can trust, that will be responsive so that things can, be repaired, is very important. But also it's just as important as picking a good tenant that's going to take good care of your stuff and getting that deposit and using that deposit if need be.
Yeah. And I would definitely say vet your tenants, like pay for the background check, get the referrals, all of that stuff. Like sometimes people are not taking that extra step to make sure that you have the right people in your home.
Yeah.
I understand that it might seem difficult to do, but there are a ton of people that are living off of Airbnb their home, and they're making good money doing it, especially if you live in high metropolitan areas.
Exactly.
That would be the best way to really utilize. Like if you're in the DMV and you own a house, that's money, especially during certain seasons and all of those things. Like you have to learn where you can actually gain your income from. So outside of that, right? So for somebody who doesn't want to Airbnb their home, how many of you guys would be open to selling your home? Put that in the chat.
Yeah. So 2 points I want to bring up that really resonate with me. First off, this is not a rush. It's not a sprint.
Yes.
Financially planning to move abroad, it's honestly a marathon. So those people, like you said, being able to take the time to vet the tenant, also vet any property management company that you're going to use. It may take a little bit more time, but it's going to be time that's well worth it when you're gone and you don't have to worry about anything. Also, when you're saving your money, don't rush. Like, I know it's hard when you're stuck in a job you don't want to be in and you are ready to just get out of the United States. However, you have to stay focused on the end goal and whatever that amount is. And then the second thing is you got rid of your second car. I think COVID is a really good time to do things like that. Get rid of extra cars or extra things that you might not need anymore because either you and your partner are not both driving to work or you're going to work less days out of the week. Save on that car payment and that insurance by getting rid of that second car. Retirement accounts. We'll get into that. No one says, so is anyone willing to sell their home if they own a home to move abroad?
That was the question.
Yeah,
I don't see anybody voting just yet, but
she said, I will sell my home once I know that I'm ready to leave. It's hard to plan when to do it because you don't know how long it will take to sell. That's a really good point.
That is a good point, but you can actually just keep that once you know that your house is up, it has potential buyers, use those dates as, and also, I'm not going to lie, when I left, I had stayed with an acquaintance for a couple of weeks before I left because I gave up all of my stuff, like my home, my car and everything else. And she had a brand new house and she had space. And I was like, hey, would you mind if I stayed with you for 2 weeks until I left? Like, set yourself up for the success that you're looking for,
Exactly.
right? Reach out to the people in your network that you can actually trust and can help you get there. Now, and like she said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you can honestly say, well, if my house sells, right? Or not if, when my house sells, I will go stay with my best friend or my brother or my sister for a month until I get rid of all of the other stuff. Because one thing I can honestly say that I don't understand, however, I get it. People leave with these units that they store all their stuff in. And they're like, well, I want to keep my couch. I want to keep my mattress. I'm going to keep the TV. And when I come back and all this kind of stuff. And truth be told, every single buddy I know that has a storage unit at some point has to leave the country that they're in to go handle the storage unit, because now they're like, I got to get rid of the blah and blah, 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 because they end up not coming back to live, to stay.
Right.
It's best to either sell the belongings, or that's only if you plan on really moving abroad, right? If you want to do a temporary sabbatical stint, I get it, but you're just adding another bill. If you got somebody with a house and they got a basement, can I put some things in the basement for 6 months until I get back?
Right. And Monica makes a really good point. You can negotiate with your buyer to say, okay, well, if you're going to buy the home on August 1, but I'm not, my plane doesn't leave till September 1, let me stay for this month and pay rent. And as you were saying, like if selling your home is an option, it's a part of your moving abroad plan, do research, ask a realtor, how long does it take typically for homes to be selling in this market right now? Then if they say it's 3 months, okay, so 3 months out before your date, either you have all your money saved or you're like, okay, house is going on the market. And like you said, that contingency plan as to where you're going to stay until you move. What do you do with retirement accounts? Keep cash out.
Yes.
I would say never cash out your retirement accounts. Retirement is a part of your long-term investing. And you just know, like people are like, oh, I'm going to use that retirement money. I could have done that and I will never, because I know how important it is to be saving for retirement. So what I'm doing is rolling over my 403B with my previous employer to a either a SEP IRA or a SEP or a Roth IRA, because now I am self-employed, because I want that to be retirement savings for the rest of this time.
Yeah. So somebody,
so you go ahead.
I have the questions right here as well. All right. So somebody says, do you have to show proof of income or a certain amount when moving abroad? Yes and no. So if you're coming on a tourist visa, you do not have to show proof of income. If you're trying to apply for residency in any of the countries, then yes, you do. So that would be the difference. So if you're not applying for residency, they're not going to be all up in your bank account. Now, here is the other difference. If you're trying to stay longer than a tourist visa, such as, let's just say Thailand. Thailand has, 30 days. No, you don't have to show them anything. If you're trying to stay 60 to 90 days, you may have to show a consecutive amount of, I think it's like $6,000 in your bank account consecutively for 6 months. And you got to show the embassy those bank statements in order for them to issue you a 3-month visa. That is one place I do know requires some kind of income, whatever. Some countries do, some countries don't. But tourist visas, typically, you don't have to show income at all.
Nor do you have to show income for any of the apartments that I've seen. I don't know, Nubia, if you ever have.
Oh, please, only America want to be up in your pockets when it comes time to get a place. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I done moved twice in 2 damn weeks, okay? I'm so tired of moving in 1 week. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I went to one place and the AC wasn't working, right? So then it was like, okay, I gotta fix the AC. Then the internet stopped working. I was like, look, the internet, I need it for work. This ain't gonna work. You need to put me in a place that the internet's gonna work. And so that's what they did. They put me in a brand new building and I just went with the flow. I was about to lose it, but I went with the flow and here I am in another apartment. So the thing about places abroad is you typically just sign the contract for the month to month you can do, or you can do something like a 3 to 6 month. Most places would love for you to do a 6 to 12 months. I would never recommend doing a 6 to 12 month on your first time going abroad, because even with Kenya, you had got an Airbnb and I specifically told you not to do it longer than a couple of days, remember?
Right, yeah.
And she got her Airbnb for a few days and
9
by
days.
By
day 4 or 5, I was gone.
She was out of there because she didn't like the area and she really wanted to be somewhere else.
And the Wi-Fi was horrible.
And the Wi-Fi was horrible. Yeah. So I just say that it's best to get your feet on the ground, do an Airbnb, check it out. And then, no lie, in Colombia, in Thailand, in, Mexico, as you're walking the streets, you'll see signs that say like for rent, for rent, for rent. And you can just WhatsApp them and say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Can you show me the unit?
Right.
It's that simple. I literally found my apartment the same day, gave them the deposit and was moved in by later on that day or the next day.
And can I say how fast that I found my $650 a month apartment was literally the next day. I arrived on Saturday. I saw the place Saturday night. Nubia connected me with the landlord. Saturday or Sunday, I saw the place and it was just a matter of negotiating the price. And I'm moving in tomorrow, thankfully. So it does happen very quickly.
It does. So don't worry too much about that. Let's see here. Could you negotiate with the buyer? Okay, you already said that. So, all right. So somebody said they have a date in mind, maybe 1 to 2 years, but they're trying to get rid of things now to make it easier when it's time to leave. Okay. Yes. Now, Pamela, I'm gonna tell you, I was in tears when I had to get rid of my things because as a parent and a single mom, I worked really hard for for the things that I had. And I enjoyed cooking. So I had a ton of kitchenware. I used to entertain, all of those things. So I had somewhat of an attachment to those things that I had to get rid of. So trying to sell them, trying to give them away. Then I started just being intentional. And I was like, you know what, Nubia, somebody else can truly use this. So instead of giving it to like Goodwill, I started looking for like smaller organizations in the neighborhoods. And I would give my office wear, like my office clothes, to Dress for Success and businesses that actually help people who have been displaced or need, you know, like that made me feel better about giving it away. And I will be honest with you guys, I had like a walk-in closet. I had almost 100 pair of shoes. And I think at this point, wow, I have the most shoes I've had in 3 years, and I have 8.
I can't imagine you with 100 pair of shoes, because I know how many shoes you have.
Well, but I also lived in the DMV, so I had like seasonal stuff, like boots and heels for work, and wow, things for different stuff. So, but I had accumulated so much over so much time that when you're abroad, you don't need as much as you think you would.
I gave away all my heels, all of my cute winter booties. Oh my God, that was hard. Ooh. Okay, continue.
All right. Is credit scores a thing abroad, like in the Netherlands? I have not come up with any type of issues.
I actually just looked earlier. So there are other countries that do use a credit score, but they're not using your American credit score. Got it. So no, actually I'm breaking up with my credit score, because at the start of this journey, I was like, I want to get 750 credit. And then I realized I'm not gonna buy another car. I don't plan on purchasing a home, nor will I be renting an American apartment anytime soon. So it's like, I don't care what my credit score is. I'm tired of looking at that thing all the time. I know it's really good because I just paid off on my credit card debt, and I will continue to, I don't have any collections to go into, but I will continue to maintain it, but I don't care about my credit score anymore.
Which is the opposite for me, because I literally said to Kenya, like, I'm ready to get my credit back to what it was like when I was in the States. Because when I left, I was on some forget you and you, forget this American life. Like, I just dumped everything. I didn't even bring credit cards with me. I said I was going to live this life. Like, I jumped into minimalism. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big, go hard or go home type thing. And I would recommend not to do that. I learned a lot of lessons in that time that, because I had a credit score that was almost 800 at the time, and I had $30,000 worth of credit to use that I just kind of let go. And at the time, my thought process was, this credit card is going to hold me back, because I kept thinking of myself of it as a bill.
Okay, yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was like, you have X, Y, Z cash, use the cash you have. And if you don't have enough, then you don't need whatever it is that you want.
Agreed.
But if I had a credit card, I know that I would just be like, here.
You knew yourself.
I knew me, right? But here I am now 3 years later saying to Kenya, as we've been working together, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to get back to the credit score that I had so that I could eventually potentially apply for another card to get my credit back to that point. Because now that my businesses are thriving, I want to be able to have like business credit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a catch 22, is that catch 21?
Catch 22.
Catch 22 on letting go of your credit.
Yes.
Like altogether. However, they do not use your American credit score in other countries, not that I've seen.
So you said that you didn't leave the States with any credit cards, and you just kind of like into the wind. I also very specifically have never and will never close any of my cards, because that's going to affect my age of my credit history age. And I already have kind of like a low age right now, because it's like 5 years old, average 4 years old. And I know that I don't want to close. I'm not going to use any of the cards. Honestly, again, after paying $23,000 to credit card companies this month, I don't even want to look at another credit card. But all those credit cards are in this country, I'll tell you that. So yeah, I'm never going to close them. Don't close cards if you care about your credit score long term. In the case of things going to collections and you want to throw caution to the wind, this is what I recommend. You can do that if you want to, but you need to be very clear. I'm not coming back for another 7 years. because things drop off of your credit score in 7 years. So
Which goes by kind of fast.
yeah, you know, I don't know just yet. But yeah, if you're like, I'm not coming back for 7 years, if that's what you want to do, that's holding you back from getting on that plane and leaving, let it go.
Yeah.
Leave it to God.
That's how, yeah, that's kind of where I am in full transparency. I'm just like, anything that isn't going to keep me back other than student loans. Now, student loans, I did discuss with you. I said, I want to pay those down.
Yes.
Other than that, the other stuff can kind of kick rocks.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have a lot of student loans.
I don't have
really
it,
good.
Which is, yeah. Well, that's another thing, you guys, like, student loans has been the bane of a lot of expats' existence. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's something that really has, I don't want to say held them back, but it kind of hangs over your head.
Exactly.
Because if you don't pay your student loans, then America stops you from being able to do certain things. Right. And that is what gets people really kind of riled up, because at some point I will have to go back to America to renew my passport. Right. Or I do go back to America like once a year to do certain things and handle certain businesses. Right. And I still file taxes in America. Those kind of things you want to be mindful of, you know what I mean? So I would honestly say that. So let's go back to kind of like financially planning to actually make the move. When you pay off debt, do you start off paying off the little smaller things, or do you say pay off at the larger and go down, like ascend or descend?
So it really depends on who you are as a person. So if you like rewards and kind of seeing the small steps that lead to big gains, then I would pay the smallest card first. And then just kind of do as they call it, a debt snowball. So you pay off that first card, all that money that went to that first card is now going to your payment for this next card that has the highest balance. That's if you like, okay, I really want to see some progress sooner rather than later, immediately. Now, if you want to save more money over time, then I would do the highest interest rate card or balance first, because that high interest rate is, charging you these large exorbitant amounts of interest that is, again, making these large, $200 for one card minimum payments a month. So if you want to just be like, I want to save more money over time, then pay the highest interest debt first. I was someone that I need to see that this is doing something. So I did smallest balance to largest balance.
Yeah. Would you recommend calling the credit card company and trying to work something out with them as well?
Absolutely.
Especially if you're furloughed or having issues during the COVID, this would be the perfect time.
So especially during this time of COVID, you need to contact all of your credit card companies and see what kind of deferred payment options they have. If you have a balance on a card, but you've had, great payment history, you've been a good client, call them and ask them if they can lower your interest rate. That I've done that twice before, and that has really helped me, to put a handle on the different credit card payments that I was making, so that I could focus on a different goal, whether that's paying off a different card or saving money. So especially during this time, talk to your creditors essentially and ask for deferments, ask for lower interest, and also ask about refinancing as well. Because in this economy, this is a great time to refinance, because you're going to get lower monthly payments and lower interest rates, right?
That's true. So somebody mentioned my favorite thing. She says, Pamela says, how does the Charles Schwab bank account work? Would you recommend, would you recommend opening up that now, stack money there, and to have when it's time to move abroad? Abso-freaking-lutely. Charles Schwab is like my BFF, okay? And you cannot open a Charles Schwab outside of the country. You do need to open it up while you are in, I was going to do it. Okay, sorry. It's okay. As you're in America. So Charles Schwab is like the bomb for international bank accounts. It's an online bank. You can use it anywhere in the world. It's a debit card. They also have credit cards, I believe.
Probably. I didn't even look into it because I don't need no more credit cards.
Right. But when you open up a Charles Schwab account, they automatically give you a brokerage account.
Right.
So, and they just now started doing these like micro investments like Robinhood. Like you can put in $100 and it will go to a bunch of mutual funds and all of that stuff. So I love it. I lost my I had my card stolen in Indonesia. I called Charles Schwab. They sent me a new card within 24 hours. like immediately, you know, hauled it right to where I was. There was no questions asked. The money that was taken from me, they put back into my account after doing like a fraud, you know, alert. And they do like an emergency too. They're like, okay, we can give you, you know, 200 towards emergency funds, because they know that you need that money to eat, to sleep, to do whatever until they have the case open or whatever. It's been the only bank that I know that has been so like accommodating, A, and B, at the end of every month, if you have any ATM fees or anything like that, they pay it back and they put it in your account every month. So for me, like in Mexico, I make sure I take like an exuberant amount of money out, seriously, at the end of the month, like the day before the end of the month ends. So that way I have enough money to pay my rent, because you can pay rent here with cash. I have enough money to, you know, have during the weeks for my groceries, my expenditures. But I know that if I took it out a day before the month ends, I know that that fee is coming back the next day.
So I actually disagree because of the way the question was asked. So should you open? Yes, you should open the Charles Schwab account before you leave the States. However, I believe that you need to be stacking your money in a high yield savings account like Ally. Ally was an online bank. So this is what I did. I put all of my savings into my Ally account, which earned me interest. And then when I was before, like a week before I left, I transferred all of my money to my Charles Schwab account. Because with the Charles Schwab bank account, I don't think that they give you interest for the money that you hold in the account.
They do.
They do?
Yeah,
what's the percentage?
So. I don't know. It's not.
It's
not high.
It's not a high yield. So right. So I just put the money in the high yield account, literally just to earn interest, and then all that interest earned and the money that I saved goes into the Charles Schwab account. But yes, open it before you leave. But I wouldn't stack the money there. It's just not strategic.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so somebody asked, how does pesos work? Do you trade the money once you get to Mexico or in the States? Again, I say do not take out US dollars and try to trade or, you know, exchange. I say use your card at an ATM in Mexico and take out pesos. Yes. I've seen people, even friends, they're like, oh, well, I'll just pay, I have American dollars. That rate that they're giving you at the restaurant or at the grocery store, or whatever, is much higher than what it would be if you had exchanged it in the States. But at the same time, whenever I use an ATM in Mexico, it asks me if I want to accept the conversion, and I always decline. I'd rather Charles Schwab do the conversion, not Mexico.
Oh, that's something I'm learning today.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that at the ATM just to see.
Because the conversions in Mexico are going to be, the conversions in a lot of countries are going to be a lot higher. They're using their conversions, where I'm using the US, currency conversion, and it's going to be slightly different. So you got to just keep up on that and look at it all the time. I will say that when we started the pandemic, oh my gosh, the peso was like so low. I went to the ATM immediately and took out money, seriously, because it was at a better rate. And I was like, let me do that. Now that tourism is getting back higher, it's going higher. So, you just got to look at that. That is something that we do pay attention to as expats.
I will say, it's an inconvenience for me to have US dollars here in Mexico. Like I have about 70 US dollars that I'm just like, I need to exchange this because that's 2 dinners, several taxi rides. Like I want that peso money, and I will be paying this place I'm about to leave in pesos as well, because I know it's more advantageous for me to do so. Yeah, I guess for them too.
That's another thing. Yeah, is always pay for whatever it is that you're paying for in that country's currency. It's just gonna be advantageous for you for the most part. You know what I mean? Because if you say to your apartment, and I'm using Mexico as a standard because I did that before. I had an apartment that was $450 US dollars. And I was just like, oh, I'll just PayPal it or Zelle it, no problem, $450. Then when I looked at the conversion a couple of times, I asked, I was like, well, how much is it in pesos? When I seen the difference, I was paying maybe $25 to $30 more because I was paying US dollar because the conversion kept changing. And I was just like, well, shoot. Yeah. But for me, I was just like, out of convenience, I didn't have to go to the ATM. I didn't have to walk the rent over to the rental agency, whatever. In my head, I was like, it's just $20, $30. I know that's not a good way
but
to
what
look
is
at
20, 30 USD here?
It's
a good meal.
amount,
That's
yeah.
a steak. I mean, it is.
That's a steak and something else, right? And a dessert. Somebody said Ally just dropped their interest rates to 0.8.
Very, very funny. I got the email too. I'm still with Ally. My best friend texted me. He said, I need a new account because they just dropped it. No. The reason the rate is dropping, because they've been dropping that rate literally since COVID, is because the economy is in the trash right now. So yes, they advertise you're going to get a 1.50 annual percentage yield, but that is dependent upon the economy. You're still never going to find any other account here in America, a high yield savings account that's going to even get you the 1.8 the 0.80 that it just lowered it down to. So it's still considered a high yield savings account because it's a higher yield than any other regular bank. But as the economy gets better, you're going to see it raise up to the 1.5%. So I told him, no, you don't need to move your money, because what you're going to do is you're going to be shopping around trying to find that 1% again, and you're not going to find it because the economy is bad,
Yeah. All right. Somebody said in Mexico, is it common for society to mostly do cash transactions? Yes. Cash is king in almost every country outside of the US. I think the US is one of the only countries that really rely on credit cards for the most part. So with that said, yes, use cash wherever you are, because if you use your debit card, you're going to get hit with that extra. Sometimes it's 5%. Right. Sometimes it could be 10% if you're at like a beach club or something like that. They love to charge up your card. With the service fees for using a card. Some places actually give you discounts for using cash versus using a card. More than likely, right? Also in Mexico specifically, I would never, ever, 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 ever give a gas attendant my credit card ever again, because literally I got charged twice, because you're not really paying attention. And a lot of places don't necessarily, this is another thing. Never let somebody take your card and walk away. They usually have a card reader that they can bring to the table and put it in. So I would always use cash. It's a better way also for you to manage your money, because just like in the States, seriously, just like in the States, if you're just like, oh, I'll just use my card, you're usually shocked later on when you look at your statement going, well, damn, I didn't think it was this much.
Right. And so, yes, as a financial coach, cash is king in terms of your discipline and your spending. And so people often in the personal finance community, they talk about using cash envelopes, which when I was in AmeriCorps Vista, which is a volunteer service organization where they pay you at poverty wages, I was literally making $850 a month. And let me tell you, I saved $1,000. I was going on trips because I was budgeting and managing my money using cash envelopes. I'd get paid, I'd go to the bank, and I would withdraw, this is much money I'm using for groceries, this is for this, and I can see in my, literally see where is it going, as opposed to when you have a credit card, when you have this plastic, you just swipe happy. You literally do not feel the spending that's happening. And you're also, you're avoiding kind of like getting to like thinking about, well, why did I spend that money? Because it's like out of sight, out of mind, until you get that account statement. And now you're saying, Kenya, I don't know where my money is going. And I said, okay, well, let's look at through your account statements and figure it out. And I always tell my clients, use cash when you can. This past year, actually, I wasn't able to use cash because I didn't have an ATM in Florida where I was. However, here in Mexico, I never use my debit card unless it is to withdraw money. I always have cash. So it's a great way to stay focused and stay disciplined.
Yeah, definitely. If you can see your cash dropping, hello, that's when you know you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go out tomorrow night.
Get receipts when you go to the ATM, because you'll see that tells you this is how much you have in your account, so you can stay put like, mentally. Oh, I see. This is what I have.
Yeah. I guess everybody's really just saying like the rates are dropping everywhere pretty much. Saks, City, all of that stuff.
Someone said something about a 6% digital credit union.
Yeah. A credit union pays 6.17 up to the first 1K.
That's beautiful. Credit unions are king.
Credit unions are great.
Amazing.
I would say one of the best ones to join is Navy Federal. Is one of the best one. If you know somebody that you can get in through with Navy.
Yep.
Or do they allow people now?
No.
Okay. So if you have somebody that you can get in with the Navy Federal or USAA, that's not bad.
I love USAA. Yeah. It's not, USAA is not a credit union, but it's still an amazing bank. But Navy Federal is a great credit union. And look and see if your state has a state employees credit union as well.
Yeah, so somebody asked, how do you gauge the money conversion? You mentioned your place or things are cheaper because of the virus, but if you're trying to budget, how much wiggle room should you plan if the money changes and rent and groceries go up? So this is the thing. Once you're in the place, it's not going to go up.
Right.
Okay. So you have the option to, like, for instance, I tell people now who are in Tulum, if you typically, because of the pandemic, we were having pandemic prices, right? Because everybody left Mexico for the most part, and the prices went down dramatically. Now that Mexico is one of the only places, I won't say only places, but now that Mexico is allowing people to come in, the rates are going up because so many people are coming to Mexico. Now I'm in my place, right? If I signed a contract for 3 months, my 3-month contract is how much it is for those 3 months. Right. I don't give a crap what happens to the economy or whatever. That's just how much I'm paying. A lot of places will only give you your rate to high season. Once high season hits, the rates do go up. But you also got to just look at where you are. Like, I live in a high tourist neighborhood or area. If I didn't, I wouldn't have to worry about that as much.
But the app, and I don't know if you told me about this app, but like XE Currency app is what I use to always to keep on track. Like, what am I spending in terms of US dollars and in terms of pesos as well? So
this would be XE. I know you guys know it's a currency conversion app. That's like one of the better apps to use. And that's what I look at to make sure that when somebody is telling me how much something is, I'm looking at the current conversion with XE. That's what I use.
Yep, same.
But a lot of countries use their own currency, and which is what I meant about making sure that you stay on top of the currency exchanges. But if you have cash, you don't have to worry about that as much.
No, not really. You have, like, I have pesos, so I'm not really worried about
what
that. If anything, I'm usually, it's with the peso and the US dollar, I'm usually paying, it's more advantageous, the conversion. I'm getting more pesos for the US dollar usually. Yeah. I've never really heard of a peso weighing more than $1
ever.
Yeah.
And you probably won't ever.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on in
the way this world is going on right now, God only knows what may or may not happen. But with that said, so you talked about the snowball effect.
Yes.
We talked about having assets and ways that we could actually use our assets for either the best way to actually earn money from the assets that we currently have. Also, I meant to say, I learned about this later on, but there's obviously this business called, I believe it's Turbo. You guys tell me if you ever heard about this. It's when you can actually rent out your car.
Whoa.
It's like an Airbnb in your car. Somebody had told me about that, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So it's like an app.
It's like an app.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
And you can actually, so those people that have 2 vehicles, you can actually, what you would, and I say this loosely, Airbnb your car. Turo. Turo. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I heard about that when I went back to the States, and I was like, what?
I would only recommend doing that if you own the car, and if you're on a lease, obviously you should not be doing that because leases have mileages restrictions.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody said, what time did we start? 7 o'clock EST, girl. It's everywhere. No, she said she had 8 p.m. in her notes. We even started later than that because I had some technical difficulties, but started almost an hour ago. Right?
Yeah.
We're already at an hour.
Yeah, an hour and 13 minutes.
Jeez. Okay. Any more questions that you guys have about really getting started with trying to save? Or let's ask this question. What are your pain points? What trouble are you having with trying to financially plan for a potential move? abroad.
And honestly, ask any and all questions that you possibly can at this time, because this is a free event and I'm about to answer all of your questions as a certified financial coach, giving you strategy, kind of, pretty much strategy. And so take this time, like use me, because I'm ready to help you.
Because what you ask her offline, she's going to be like this. These are my rates and my fees.
Right, I need them USDs. Hey.
All right, so somebody said, when should you open up a bank account in your new country? I haven't thought about opening a bank account in another country unless I plan on gaining residency or unless I know that I'm gonna stay there long term. I am what you would call an expat. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of dilly-dally and travel all over to country. So getting a bank account in a certain country isn't going to suit me. Whereas maybe an expat, somebody, you want to go get some water?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Maybe an expat, somebody that wants to like sit still, that might work for them, knowing that they're going to be staying there longer term.
Yes, because it does come with some national benefits with having a national bank account. But if you're not employed there, I really wouldn't see, or have a residency there, I really wouldn't see the need to open a bank account in another country.
Yeah, I wouldn't want them all up in my money business. All right, so somebody said one of their pain points is deciding where to go and how to build a home. Well, that's not this particular topic today because we're talking about finances, right? So,
but in deciding where you want to go, so you mentioned Numbeo, which is amazing. Numbeo, numbeo.com. Another website that I use that really helped you like kind of build a budget based upon your lifestyle was The Earth Awaits.
The Earth Awaits.
I love that website because you can put in like, well, how much do you typically spend on like alcohol, milk, eggs, chicken? Where do you want to live? You want to live outside the city center, inside the city center. So you can start customizing those things. And then based upon whatever cities that you're interested in, they tell you, well, based upon your lifestyle, this is how much you're going to pay in this country. So that I had like a whole list of places that were, $2,000 and below based upon my lifestyle. I don't drink, I don't eat red meat. And so that changed a lot as to like what I'm actually paying for in terms of food, and where I plan to live. I typically like city centers because I am a single woman and I want to be accessible to things, but it could be different. Also, it can be like, well, how many people are staying in your home, stuff like that. So in talking about finances and deciding where you want to go, I would choose The Earth Awaits. Well, both Numbeo and The Earth Awaits, so you can start figuring out, well, what does it cost to live abroad in this place that I say I want to go to? Because again, like we said, that might change your mind really quick about going to Malta.
Yeah. I think we all have ideas of what looks great based on vacationing, but vacationing and living are two different things.
Exactly.
So you have to definitely do your research about where you want to go. I did drop the link in the chat for The Earth Awaits.
Great.
Somebody asked about health insurance abroad.
Oh.
So we're not going to get too much into health insurance abroad because this is really about finances. But what I will say is that you can do your research and look for nomad insurance, like travel insurance, basically. They usually cover you just for emergency purposes. I must say that when I lived in Asia, I went to the doctor for my annual physical, and don't let nobody tell you that medical is the best in the States. Actually, I had some of the best medical care abroad, okay? And medical tourism is a thing.
Right.
People literally go to other countries to have medical procedures done because they have better medical care in those places, especially Asia. And Singapore is like #1 in the medical tourism industry. But anyway, make a long story short, I had a GYN visit, a mammogram, blood work, and pelvic ultrasound, right? Because, Black women got fibroids and shit.
Exactly.
My whole entire visit was $290 out of pocket.
That's really good.
I went and had my teeth cleaned. Y'all know I love smiling, and my teeth are all here and they're all white. And my teeth cleaning was like, I don't know, $22 US.
Right. So same with the dental thing. Like when I was getting ready to leave and getting all of my exams, the dentist that I was going to go to stopped taking my insurance, and they like quoted me this outrageous number. And I said, I'm pretty sure I can find better healthcare, more affordable healthcare out of pocket abroad. So I didn't even bother with it. So yes, you should have, a health insurance and a life insurance just to protect you should something happen, but you're probably going to be paying less in healthcare costs than you can imagine.
For sure. Most definitely. I mean, that all depends on your current health. And I will say this, when I left the States, I was considered obese. I don't know. I've never been obese in my life, but to American standards, because I'm short.
Oh, yeah.
So because I'm short and I had more weight on me, I was pre-diabetic and I was put on like this no carb, high protein diet, blah, blah, blah.
Keto.
I moved to Asia. Before I moved to Asia, I told my doctor I was moving to Asia. My doctor was like, you can eat all the rice and noodles you want because it's not processed the way it's processed in the States. I actually have a photo on my social media where I have the side by side. The week that I left, in 6 months, I reverse aged. It was like Benjamin Button type of shit, like seriously, because the foods that I was eating wasn't containing all of those chemicals. In Thailand specifically, I can honestly say that, like, you drive through rice fields, and they're picking rice, you know what I'm saying, in Asia, and they're eating that rice, they're drying it out right there on the road. Wow. Like, it's not done in a huge factory, you walk past a certain place, you see chickens running, that's lunch, you know what I mean? And on top of that, when you eat chicken wings, you're like, damn, these are small. Chickens don't have jumbo sized legs. So stop eating those jumbo wings, because God knows that is not from a chicken. I don't know what they're from. They're pumped with steroids. Everything in the States is like the bigger, the better. That's not true. You go to Europe, you get smaller where do you think tapas came from? They eat a bunch of smaller meals. You know what I mean? Now, I'll tell you one thing though, in China, they eat their asses off. They be this big and they eat a whole bunch of food, but the food that they eat is fresh. It's steamed, a lot of it. It's not fried, a lot of it. It's fresh, like fresh. You've seen some of the videos. Some of the shit still be moving. I mean, it's fresh. I mean, fresh, I meant it. So somebody said one of their biggest concern is trying to find a source of income that they can do from anywhere. They had originally planned to transfer with their job. They work for a hotel company, but COVID won't let that be possible for the next year or two. So one thing I will say is that people can create their realities during a recession better than you can when there isn't a recession. It's kind of weird, but because you work in the hotel industry, right? Think about different ways that you can do this. There's a lot of virtual jobs, specifically, such as like American Express has a ton of virtual positions. What I was going to say is, like, there's tons of work that you can do from home or virtual, or even in hospitality, working at a hotel, you should be able to contact like different hotels in different places. Like Marriott is international. Why can't you get a job at a Marriott somewhere else? I don't know what kind of hotel you currently work in, but it's weird that you weren't able to transfer the job for another year or two. So maybe just talking to your boss and saying, hey, I'm really interested in working for our establishment, but in a different country. Can you help me find something that's suitable for me? Some other time, there are ways to just ask your job, do they offer what they call a sabbatical? A lot of people don't realize that you can go to HR and say, hey, do you offer a sabbatical, which is time off of work that is not paid. I'm not saying that they're paying you, but they keep your position available. Right. I've met plenty of people that took 12-month sabbaticals, 6-month sabbaticals, things like that. So this way you feel a sense of like, at least I can save up for 6 months and I still have my job when I get back.
Right. And it could be considered, as you get back, professional development, because wherever you go, you're looking at, getting best practices from other hoteliers. Other hotels, other managers. You're learning more about the customer service there and the luxury. You can come back having all these amazing ideas as to how to make your establishment better in the States. So yeah, I would really look into the leave of absence or a sabbatical once you save your money and being like, okay, I can leave and come back already to a job. I'm gone. You know?
Or just ask, I always say a closed mouth don't get fed. In this day and age, I think more employers are seeing the benefit from having virtual employees because they have less overhead expenses. Just ask them. I mean, if you are already working from home and you're not considered an essential worker, now is the time to really say to your employer, listen, we've been working from home for the last 4 months, 5 months. Right. Is it possible I can work from home for the rest of the year? I do have somebody somebody who's visiting Mexico right now who did not tell their employer that they were coming and made the mistake of logging into work, and they had a suspicious login come in and the job was like, you cannot, like, you know what I mean? He should have just asked for permission. So my thing is just be mindful that some employers will not just allow you to just do it. Sometimes it's best to just ask, or it's best to make sure you have like a VPN on and have it set up for America so that you're not getting busted every time you try to leave the country. I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of goes very briefly into the cost of moving abroad. So like I bought a lot of things in my moving abroad, a VPN, I bought a lot of materials. If you have pets, the cost it takes to get all their stuff together. I'm sure there's other things I can think of that I bought to move abroad, but so when you're thinking, because it's not like the buck doesn't stop like, oh, I have my money, I've got my plane ticket, my Airbnb, I'm gone. You also need to be prepared to have the things that you may need when you're
work and all that stuff.
To work, exactly. Oh, a Sky Roam, I bought a portable hotspot. I paid off my cell phone, so that was a smooth $450.
Oh yeah, don't come here with no locked cell phone and all that stuff, because moving abroad and not having a phone that's unlocked is like
having a brick.
It's like not having the ability to do anything with your phone. So make sure your phone is unlocked. For instance, I'm having a problem with my MacBook right now, and I live in Tulum. There's no Apple stores here, so I got to travel to Playa del Carmen to the closest Apple store to look at that. And I'm even apprehensive of buying a new Mac in Mexico versus just getting it repaired. So there are some things that you might want to look into for work purposes. I taught English for the last almost 3 years. I just now stopped teaching full-time.
Yes.
Jumped off that struggle bus. But my point to saying that is that for me, in order to work, I needed certain things. You know what I mean? I do a podcast. So I bought into like a pricier microphone that I know was going to give me better quality. I have, I do interviews. So I have like lavalier mics. I have, cameras for content equipment. Those kind of things I invested in because I know I needed them for my business. Right. If you're working with your company or whatever, make sure you have all the things in place to make sure that you're able to do your job effectively, So don't just rely on that country's Wi-Fi, have a MiFi or a mobile hotspot available. Right. When I worked at my last company that had laid me off, I did meeting events and stuff like that. So we used to have what we call MiFis, which were the mobile Wi-Fis. And I would just take one of those when I was traveling. So God forbid anything happened, I had it on the plane, I had it at the hotel, I had it wherever I was, and I could do work from wherever I was because I had my portable Wi-Fi with me. Right. So just make sure you have that. Let's see here. Eventually, I want to complete a divorce from, you want a complete divorce from the US. Okay, I thought you meant like a divorce from someone. Okay, eventually I want a complete divorce from the US, but I wonder about what happens with student loans, retirement accounts, taxes, and Social Security.
Let's get into it. So if you are not letting go of your citizenship, you can never have a complete divorce from the United States because you're still gonna have to pay taxes. And whatever money that you bring in from whatever source, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. What else? Student loans. Like you need to be paying on your student loans. If you don't pay on your student loans, defer them, do forbearance. But also a lot of times when you move abroad, you're making less US dollars than when you lived in the United States. You're still living just great, hopefully. However, you need to be on an income-based repayment plan with your student loans. Like I said earlier, my student loan payment is $13 a month. It's based upon your income from the year prior. So it's based upon my 2019 income. As my business grows, as I grow, yes, my loan amount or my minimum payment amount will increase, but it's going to be nothing for me at that time. But before you leave, you need to make sure you're on an income-based plan or you're deferring it.
Also with that though, the income-based plan is once you do it, you can't keep doing it. I think you get like a one-time. So
with income-based plan?
Yeah.
No.
Really? No. Because when I was going to apply, it was like, it was like a warning kind of thing. Like, you're going to, whatever they give you, you're accepting it.
Right.
So if you're making six figures and you're about to go from six figures to making less than, I wouldn't do it off your 6-figure income.
Yes, that is true. So again, like I said, it's based upon your previous year's taxes. So yeah, you have to be strategic with it. I know like right now it's based on my 2019 taxes. I'm also not going to make too much this year in 2020. I'm good. But like I said, when I make more money, I'm going to stay more on an income-based plan, because I know, or you know what, the lowest minimum payment plan available. But yeah, so a lot of people also think, well, if I pay on the loans, that helps my credit score. Paying on your loans doesn't really do much for your credit score, but not paying is going to do something. So, and then Social Security, retirement, you can still save for retirement in your retirement accounts.
Social Security,
Social Security, they'll take it out somewhere, whether it's taxes or when you get your paycheck. So like I said, unless you're giving up your citizenship, your passport, etc., you're not going to get a complete divorce, but there are ways to live abroad, still pay your taxes, have retirement, pay your student loans, etc.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody asked if our companies are set up under an LLC in the US, since we both are self-employed, and how does that work? Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. Yeah. So even the podcast is, I have it as an LLC.
I'm gonna figure it out.
It's now an LLC. Well, not now, it's been an LLC. So my thing is that, and I still keep my residency in the States, even though I don't live there full time. I still have an address in the States. I still get my mail in the States. I still have everything that, it's almost like if I still lived in the States, to be honest with you. It's none of the US's business where I am right now. Exactly. Outside of that, I'm in Mexico right now, and I still kind of peek my head in the States once a year, if not maybe twice a year. One, I like to do what I call the re-up, and that's when I order all my Amazon shit. Right. And I come back to the country that I'm in with my newfound goodies. The other time is to see family and friends. So you just set up your LLC, right? And honestly, if you have a friend that lives in Nevada or a family member that lives in places that you don't have to pay state taxes, hell, use their address. Yep. You know what I mean? But you have to make sure it's somebody that you trust.
Exactly. And the other thing is, if you're worried about an address for your LLC, you can always get a registered agent. So my address for my LLC is previous address. However, if I was like, you know what, for some reason I don't want to continue using this address, you can get a registered agent, which is a company that is pretty much your in place of you. They receive all of your notices that you may get from the government. They file your annual taxes that you may have to file for your LLC. But it works just the same. Keep your United States address, you'll be fine. Like, who are they to tell you as CEO where you're going to be around the world? But yeah.
So another person said if they had been able to find, a remote job, or right, then they would go ahead and sell their home and be ready to go. Okay. We've touched base on that a little bit. There's always conversations around trying to find remote work. I don't know how many of you guys are in the Black Sit group. I will drop that link in there, but we're constantly talking about ways to find remote work. We actually just had a live on that like last week or the week before that. So that replays in the group. I'll drop the group link shortly, but yes, if you're not in Black Sit, we talk a lot about that stuff. So I don't want to get into that. Let me see. Somebody said they just paid $1,000 to have a biopsy performed. That's crazy. The States is crazy. Honestly, I can honestly say that I haven't had any medical emergencies, thank goodness, abroad. But I also haven't had any health scares either, where in the States, I would find myself sick sometimes, you know what I mean? And I don't think it was sick, like always physically. I think sometimes that our stress makes us sick.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? The anxiety, all of those things I don't have as much as I had in the States. It doesn't disappear just because you left. So what I say is the baggage that you have in the States is going to follow you along. Is how you deal with it and manage it. Being abroad, I learned more about patience. We have this mindset that everything, I actually watched this happen the other day. This guy was at the hotel he was checking in at, and I happened to be there waiting for a friend. And I witnessed him in Playa del Carmen snapping his fingers like rapido, come on. And I'm just like, dude, how rude can you be? Like,
Mhm.
you could tell he was fresh off and it's like, just take a deep breath sometimes, you know? And a lot of my talks, I say, when I'm stressed and I've been feeling overwhelmed lately, I take 5 minutes and I just go outside and I look up.
Mhm.
The other day I text Kenya literally and was like, yo, go outside and look up. And she was like, damn, the sky was beautiful. It's some things when you're feeling a certain kind of way and you're ready to get anxious and upset and overwhelmed, I take a moment to look at the beauty around me, and it kind of puts me back, and it's almost like a self-check, right?
Mhm.
Where in the States, I didn't have those kind of mentalities.
Right. And everything that you just said, while you're still in the States and you may be dealing with financial worries, financial anxiety, stress is keeping you up at night, you're ashamed of some of your past spending or where you are financially, I take that same advice. Know that, again, it is a marathon and that you're doing everything right. You're doing okay. If you need extra help and advice, seek that help. However, you're going to get there. And so, as a financial coach, I never preach like, well, this money needs to be your whole life and you need to live and breathe by your budget. No, money is a part of your life. It is a tool for your life. It is not the owner of your life, nor the end all be all. And America really perpetuates this notion that money really is more valuable than your life and your happiness itself. And that I don't teach that, I don't promote that or coach that. And so I'm really all about how can you ease into managing your money in a way that serves and supports you wellness wise. That's a big reason why I moved abroad as well.
Better quality of life.
Better quality of life. I kept saying I'm going to live better for less. Yeah, I could live off $1,000 a month in the United States, but that's a lot of costs where I could live here and take a dip in the pool, have a good dinner, all these amazing things that I can do for free or very cheaper than the United States.
I will honestly say that $1,000 USD a month is a good base.
Yes.
It's a good base because you can honestly, depending on the country that you move to, you can honestly have a sense of luxury type of lifestyle, you know, like if you went to Asia and had $1,000, well, not Singapore or Hong Kong, maybe not even Beijing or Shanghai, because those are major metropolitan cities, you know what I mean? And, but with that said, you know, you could actually live comfortably off of $1,000 a month in many, many countries. And when I say comfortably, I mean higher end comfort.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yes, it is a baseline. And especially for me, when I got to the point where I feel confident and empowered in managing my money, those luxuries that, you know, I would really second, third, fourth guess about in the States, sometimes here when I have a better handle on my money, it's not a second thought at all. So like the apartment that I'm getting for $650 a month, I would rather it be $550 a month, but I understand the comfort level that I like. And also I trust myself in handling my money. And I know that I'm not going to go broke just for an apartment. And I have a handle on my debt, on my bills. So I'm okay with that.
And that was negotiated.
Oh, that was negotiated because he
wanted a higher rate.
He wanted a higher rate.
Because he's American, actually.
Right.
So, but that's neither here nor there. Right. Also, please keep in mind that depending on the country that you choose, the amount of money that you spend average on monthly in America is not going to be what you spend in that country, most likely. So when I lived in Colombia, the Colombian peso is even less than the Mexican peso. And many people buy property in Colombia and will have something like that. I met a young lady that lives in the country of Georgia, which is like in Eastern Europe, and she pays like the equivalent to $400 US for her mortgage. I mean, my whole thing is like, you just have to do your research and your homework. So sometimes people have this big number that they need in their head, when in actuality, it's little to, I mean, I lived in Thailand for 2 years and made less than $1,000 a month. I don't know if y'all heard me. I made less than $1,000 a month and lived for 2 years in Thailand. I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, which I openly had, you know, put out on the internet for everybody to see because I did like a video. I had a roommate, which is my co-host, and our expenses together were $300 USD a month because we split the rent in half, and then we split our groceries, and we had a housekeeper come in. We had high-speed internet. We lived in a gated community with a 24-hour security, a pool, and a gym. $300 a month, period. So people have this misconception that they need all this money. And the reason why people think like that is because when we vacation, we are balling. I mean, all of our money is going to a hotel, all of our money is going into food, all of those things. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to live like that. So I have people in Tulum right now that keep inviting me out. And I'm just like, dude, I live here. I don't do this shit every day. Like, I literally have to budget in. And we said one day a week, we'll make sure we have like a good meal. Like, go out and have like a good meal. Like maybe a $30, $40, that's a good meal, you know? Like, that's me going above the budget to say, I'm going to spend $30, $40 on myself because I deserve it.
Right. But those $30, $40 are going far. Again, as she said, it's a good meal.
Yeah. So somebody asked, this is a ton of questions.
Okay. I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta meet with a client.
So see, she has clients. That's another thing, is that you can set yourself up to have like a better way of life before you leave the States. Okay. So if there's something that you guys are doing now in the States, you can carry that over to the country that you're moving to, especially being like a consultant, or having some kind of brand that you're helping. Right now, social media management is huge. Virtual assisting is huge. Those kind of things, you can actually make your own rates. You can help entrepreneurs like ourselves out by being a hand on different things like email management, calendar management, those kind of things. There's always work out there. And to also top that off, and I'll stay on for a little while longer for some people, but to also top that off, there are a ton of American-based companies abroad. Deloitte is one of those. A lot of the financial institutions are pretty much everywhere around the world, you know, for the most part, especially in Mexico specifically. There are headquarters to a lot of US-based companies here. Coca-Cola is one of the largest companies out here, specifically Corona, Amazon, they're all here. So even if you looked for a job in America that has potential to get you to another country, that's a good way of looking at it as well, is let me get my foot in the door and let me go ahead and transfer to another country.
So before I head off, I just, again, want to say, all in the span of 8 months during COVID, I paid off $23,000 in credit card debt. I saved a considerable amount of money to move, and I moved abroad. I'm still on a budget, and I love my budget. Oh, and I started my business during COVID as well, an LLC, incorporated business in America. And I'm a financial coach. So if you need any further help, I'll be emailing you all with a downloadable to everything that we talked about to start planning your plan. You're financially planning to move abroad. And I'll email you all other ways that you can work with me if you're interested. So yeah, thank you so much. Please stay with Nubia and enjoy the rest of your days.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up shortly.
I need my laptop.
Oh yes, okay. We're going to wrap it. We actually have to wrap this up because like I said, I'm having issues with my MacBook. So, but just to end this off, somebody's asking if we pay taxes in both US and Mexico. No. We don't pay taxes in Mexico because we're not Mexican residents, and nor do I plan on looking for residency. You know, some of these questions were already asked a couple of times before. So would you estimate $1,000 per person looking to relocate with a family of 4? No. I mean, that's just an adult, right? But if you're a family, you would just look at maybe $1,500 a month for a family of 4, and you would look at locations that suit families. I tell people all the time, Tulum is not a family-based place.
Start with what are your expenses in the States right now? This is all on the sheet that the worksheet. What are your expenses in the state right now? Use that as a base for when you're doing your research using Numbeo and the Earth Awaits. I can't give a it's this amount per person type thing. It's really based upon your lifestyle and the things that you need for your family.
Yeah, the last question is, what are some of the financial pitfalls that you did not think of or just forgot when you left? For me, it was the things, like I said, my MacBook is acting up, right? I don't feel comfortable buying electronics in other countries. So a part of me is like, well, damn, do I just go ahead and buy a laptop in the States and ask somebody to bring it back with them? Because I do have friends that come into Mexico all the time. Or is this like, I just take a quick flight and go to Texas or Miami and buy my own MacBook and come back? That's always an option, because flights to and from Cancun to Texas might be like $80 round trip. Or, well, yeah, depending on, you know, who you're flying or whatever the case may be. So something like that is a financial pitfall to me, because I'm like, well, I didn't anticipate wanting to drop 15 to $2,000 on a new computer, and then B, a flight just to go get that computer. So it's little shit like that that you just don't account for because you're in that country. Your phone, you might drop and break your phone. Now that's a $500-$600 expense, where you don't have that insurance like you would have, you know what I mean, in the States, because they do have a MacBook here, store here, or Apple store here, but they don't have the trade in with the computer. So I'm like, well, why would I lose out on $400, $500 towards the trade in? I'm gonna take that damn MacBook and I'm gonna trade it in the States and get my new computer.
I haven't really had a lot of financial pitfalls yet, but something that I've come to realize in just the less than 2 weeks I've been here is the amount of conveniences that I like, and that costs money. And again, like I said earlier, I'm okay with that because it's still cheaper than what it would have been in the States.
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm reflecting on now. But hopefully I won't have to deal with those things of like buying new technology, but it's something that can happen.
I would say technology is the biggest pitfall.
Technology.
I bought a high-speed router because no matter what place I went to, the Wi-Fi just wasn't fast enough. So I spent $75 for a high-speed router. So no matter what apartment I move into, call the technician, have them put this router in, and now I got 5G speeds. I mean, you've seen it happen today.
Exactly.
The speeds went, you know, he's like, well, no, you don't need to. Listen, install my high-speed router, please. I didn't spend $75 for this thing. We're going to use it. And as soon as we did that, the speeds it was tremendously better. So those are things that you just pay into.
Oh, and then the other thing that I am just like weary of, or something that, okay, this may happen, is the fact that I do have an animal here. So if something happens, what does that look like to provide veterinarian care in Mexico, or moving, or not moving, but flying to get something done. But that's the only thing.
So I would say, think about that. If you have pets, if you have kids, those kind of things. It's just me, you know, I don't really have any, I haven't had any major things. I pay attention to what I'm doing. I might stump my toe. I might make, you know, whatever. You can get your nails done. You can get massages, all that shit. People don't think that places are like first world because they're called third world countries. They have a lot of the amenities as the States do, because they know that people from the States like these things. I will say things like a kitchen. I love to cook, so I look for kitchens that have stoves and things like that. This particular place in Manal does not have an oven. I don't care. She was around the corner. I'll just go to her house and cook.
True.
I lived in Asia for 2 years. I did not have a stove because Asia does not bake. They like to cook on high flames, or, you know, you guys see it. They usually walk everything and all that kind of stuff. So I had to learn how to cook different things like that. So I mean, you just roll with the punches. You're not going to have everything that you would have in the States. But if you really think about it, the shit that you have in the States, you're probably complaining about anyway. Who the hell complains? We always complain about Verizon, how much it costs, our car insurance, how much it costs, how much gas prices are, traffic, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't change just because you change the location all the time. You know what I mean? You're going to want to complain about something, but the best thing to do is change your mindset and look at and be like, yo, I got a roof over my head. I got food in my refrigerator. I can wake up and literally go for a swim in my long ass Olympic size pool. I can go and have yoga on, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a gym.
I can leave my apartment and go to a vegan restaurant.
We can ride our bikes to the beach. I mean, those kind of, like, so what is there to complain about? You set up your reality. Okay. So I'm going to end this off by saying, stop making excuses, put a deadline on it. Talk to somebody who's been there, done that. You know, we have the Black Sick group specifically to help people like yourself win at, you know, moving abroad. You know, I do expat coaching for a reason, because I made all the mistakes, and I don't want people to do it as well. Honestly, and I asked Kenya, how was your move? Let's say, for instance, if you had not met me, and she would have still moved abroad, but was the coaching a help?
Oh yeah, I would have been learning for a lot longer how to do things, which, I mean, it's fine, but it's way better when I have someone who, again, like you said, I've done the things, and I'm going to teach you how to circumvent any barriers or any pitfalls that may happen. The same with financial coaching. I've done the things. I'm going to give you the strategy for you to help you literally get to where you want to go, wherever that is in the world.
Yeah. So just having that support was a big thing. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, physically, financially, all of the above. Emotionally, because your first day here, she damn near had a breakdown.
I had a panic attack.
But you know what I'm saying?
Nubia was there, and we had a great dinner that night.
And she's now like
living
her best life. So with that said, you guys, I hope that you all do the same. Create your reality to live your best life. You know, it doesn't have to be permanent. If you want to just go check it out, get your toes wet, do like a good 30 days if you can pull it off. You know what I mean? Don't think about the things you can't do. Think about the things that you can do. Be more of a solution-based person instead of a problem-based person. And I promise you that it will work itself out. Have faith in yourself. Yeah. So next time, you guys, peace. Later.